Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this 1/12 scale work table, and the table has a slatted shelf at the bottom, and the measurements are 76mm high, that's 3 inches, by 88mm wide, that's 3.5 inches, and by 50mm deep, that's 2 inches. I've also made one here in a different colour with a natural top, and the top's been treated with a clear wax. Here is the cutting list for the project. Hope you can see that there. I've given the measurements in millimetres and in inches. The inch measurements are in brackets. And for this project I recommend using a softwood such as a beche, basswood or gelaton. Out of the three of those, the beche is the least expensive. I think for this project it's fine, it's just that it has more of an open grain than the other two woods. I'm using two thicknesses of sheet wood, 1.5 and 2.5, and 3 different sized strip woods. So to complete this project you're going to need a mitre block and saw, that's for cutting the strip wood, wood glue. I'll use Gorilla Glue, which is really strong and it takes really quickly as well, so you don't have to hang around waiting to join the next piece of wood. Cocktail sticks for applying the glue and removing excess glue from joins. Piece of card just to dispense the glue onto. A steel ruler, obviously for measuring and for cutting the wood along with your craft knife. Craft knife I use is this basic Swan Morton knife, which takes 10A blades. Make sure you've got a new blade in each time you start a new project, or when the blade starts to catch or drag along the wood, that means it's becoming blunt. Pencil with a nice sharp tip, which makes marking more accurate. Got a couple of grade sandpapers here, 120 for sanding the cut edges of the wood, and a 500 for finishing off sanding after painting and varnishing, and paint and or varnish of your choice. So just a piece of advice for when you're cutting strip wood: line up the strip of wood with your ruler and just make the pencil mark according to the size on the cutting list. So this is the 5x5 strip, so I'm cutting it to 73.5mm, this is for one of the legs. And then just place the strip into the mitre block so that the pencil mark is just to the left of the blade. That's because the thickness of the blade will actually affect the length of the strip. So if you put it directly onto the pencil mark or just before it, you'll be cutting the piece just fractionally shorter than it needs to be. And then just cut through like that. And then if you find you've got any of these little sort of frayed bits at the end, you can just trim those off with your craft knife, like that. So before you start cutting into your sheet wood, it's a really good idea just to line it up with the grid lines on your cutting mat, just to make sure that it's perfectly square, so along that edge and that edge. I've had wood delivered directly from the manufacturer that isn't perfectly square, and then if you don't check it, that can affect the piece that you're making. So just make sure that's square. If it's not, just use your ruler and your craft knife just to square it up. This piece is, so I'm going to cut the tabletop. So just put a pencil mark at the top of the piece there. And also, as a general rule, always cut the longest edge of the piece in the same direction as the grain. So this piece is 75mm by 38, so this will be 75mm across here. And I just put another mark at the bottom edge of the wood there. There's no need to draw a pencil line all the way across the wood. And then line up your ruler so that it's just below the pencil marks you've just made, otherwise you'll be cutting the piece too short. Keep your fingers well back from the edge of the knife and just make a light score across the wood with the craft knife, and then just gradually increase the pressure. And we're cutting against the grain here, so that's always going to be a bit tougher until you're right through. And then I'll mark up the shorter measurement, which is the 38mm. Again, just place the ruler just below the pencil marks, and cutting with the grain is easier. Across like that. And then when you've cut the piece, just sand each of the edges, and you just need to go across the sandpaper in one direction. Don't rock it across the sandpaper like that, or the corners will round. So just each edge. And like that. We're going to begin by making the two end leg sections. So take the 4 leg pieces that we cut from the 5x5 strip and just make a pencil mark at the bottom of each leg, 10mm from the bottom. Like that, done those 3 already. And then place them upright, and we want to put a short top support and a short shelf support between each pair of legs, and so that the pencil mark on each leg is facing upwards. And then I've just dispensed some glue onto a piece of card, and I'm going to use a cocktail stick just to apply the glue to each end of these pieces. Like that. And the bottom piece too. And then start by attaching the top support to the top of the leg, so that the top of the piece is flush with the top of that leg, and the shelf support so that it sits just above that pencil mark. And just press that into place, and then start by just pressing the top of the remaining leg into place at the edge of the short top support, and bring it across so that the shelf support sits again just above that pencil mark, and then just press the 2 pieces firmly together until the glue starts to take, which should only take a few seconds. And then using another cocktail stick, just very gently remove any glue that sort of seeps out of those joins, and hold the piece together as you're doing it. Okay, and then put that to one side to dry, and just follow those same steps to make the second leg piece. So here are the 2 end leg sections. When the glue is dried, this particular Gorilla Glue takes about 20 to 30 minutes, just rub out the pencil marks that you made. Just Just hold the piece together as you're doing so. And then you can take your piece of sandpaper and you can just sand the flat edge. And just hold the piece firmly as you do so, and just gently move it round in circular motion. And that just gives us a really nice flat edge to work on with both pieces. Like that. And then I want to take the top piece and two of the top long supports and just apply glue to each long edge of the top piece. Using the cocktail stick. Like that. And then just glue a support to either long edge, to each long edge rather, so that the ends of each piece are flush, and just press it firmly together. On the other side, again making sure that the ends of each piece are flush with the end of the top piece. And just press those together while the glue takes. And then just use your cocktail stick to remove the excess glue. And then just put that to one side to dry. And I've got one here that I made earlier. So take one set of legs, and we've got the side with the indentation and we've got the flat side. So we want to attach this tabletop piece to the flat side. And the edge of the top piece is 38mm, so the same width as this short top support, so that wants to be lined up with that middle piece. So apply glue to the end of this supported tabletop. And then just press that against it. And again, just hold for a couple of seconds until the glue begins to take. Just make sure that the tabletop is flat against your worktop. And then just remove the excess glue. Turn the constructed piece onto its side and take the two long shelf supports. This is the 3x3 strip. Just apply glue to one end of the piece, and then you want to glue it level with the short shelf support that's already in place and on the inside edge of the leg, and just press that down. If it's not perfectly upright at this stage, it doesn't matter too much because we'll straighten it up when we attach the remaining set of legs. And then just let that dry for a second and apply glue to the second piece. And attach that, and again on the inside edge of the leg and level with the short support already in place. And just hold that down. And just because they're so fragile, just want to wait for the glue to dry off for a bit longer before attaching the next piece. Once the glue has dried off a little bit, you can just use the cocktail stick to remove any excess glue from around the joins. And then take in the other set of legs. Before we apply any glue, just sort of dry fit it, just to make sure that everything fits okay. And when we attach it, this top support here, this top short support, will sit centrally over the tabletop, and there'll be an overhang at either side. And then at the other side, the long supports will again sit on the inside of each leg and will be level with this short support that's already in place. So apply the glue to the actual table. And just a bit on each long support there. And then just glue the flat, I want to glue the flat edge of this set of legs to the table. So we'll just start at the top there. And again, that'll be central with the tabletop. And again, flush as well with that edge. And then just holding it quite gently, just manoeuvre these bottom supports into place so that they're level with the short support. Not sure if I'm holding that at the right angle for you. And then just very, very gently, don't apply too much pressure, but just hold that together until the glue begins to take. And then you can just sort of keep hold while you remove the excess glue. Didn't apply too much there, so there's not much to remove. And then just make sure, like this one has just slipped slightly, so just put that back into place. And just press into place again. And then I'm just going to apply some masking tape now to hold the structure together while the glue dries. And I'm just using a 1-inch masking tape. And just cut it off like that, and then just lay a piece over the top, just pulling quite tightly, and press it against the sides. And I'm going to do the same with the legs. And then that can just be left to dry. So now we've got a nice sturdy table, we're going to make the slatted shelf at the bottom. So take 2 of the slats, and we need to cut out a section that will fit around the leg at the front and the back at either end of the slat. So just begin by making a pencil mark 5mm from either end along the long edge of the slat. 5mm there, and 5mm there, and then turn the piece around. You want to make a pencil mark 5mm across that way too. and just draw the square in there, and that's the piece there that we'll be cutting away. And the same at the other end. That's the piece to cut away. Now when you're cutting sections from wood, just always make sure that you cut against the grain first, otherwise the wood will just split. So the long edge is obviously with the grain, so we cut across the short edge first. I'm just cutting into the wood there until the knife goes completely through. You can see there it's already split in there with the grain. So I'm just cut into it like that, and then just snip that piece out like that. And then do the other end. So against the grain first, like that, till you've gone all the way through. I'm doing this a bit candid here, and then cut with the grain, and that bit just comes out. And then just make sure that that just fits neatly across the front there. And the squares just fit around the legs. If not, you just need to snip a little bit more out on one of the corners until it does fit. So I've cut corners from 2 of the slats and just made sure that they fit. And then just start by applying glue along the long bottom, along shelf support, like that. Not too much there. And just a tiny bit at the side there on each one. And just fit the first slat into place there, and then just press it against the support until the glue begins to take. Remove the excess glue. Put a bit too much on there. And then turn around and apply glue again across the long support. And a tiny bit in each corner. And then put the other slat into place and press it down against the support. Okay, and then we want to put the middle one into position, so just take your ruler and just line it up between the 2 legs, which is 40mm wide, and just make a mark there in the centre and carry it down onto the front of that side support, And the same at the other end. And then we're going to put the strut across the centre. So just apply glue across each end support. And just lay it across so that, and you can do this by eye, but so that it's sitting across those central lines. So at the centre of the strut is in line with that pencil mark on the end there. And the same at the other end. And just press those down. And then just apply another bit of glue in that section, and put the next strut in. And this you can do by eye, and just make sure that there's the same gap between each, and that the end is level with the end of that central strut. And again, just press that into place. And then do the same in the remaining gap. Just place by eye. Again, just press that into place. And just before the glue sets, you can just turn it upside down and just make sure that all your lines are even and the gaps are even. And just gently move the struts along. And press down and then remove any excess glue. And then you can just remove the glue from between the slats there. And then just leave that to dry. And the next stage is painting the piece. So this piece, the top is going to be covered with the 2.5mm tabletop. So we don't need to paint this top edge, but do remember to paint underneath and at the bottom of the slats as well. Both tables have now been painted using normal household emulsion. This one I think is just a home base emulsion called Mushroom, nice cream colour, and this is a Farrow and Ball paint called Cook's Blue. They both do sample pots. The Farrow and Ball ones are about £4.25 per pot, so quite expensive, but it does give a really nice coverage, gives this nice sort of chalky finish. And any DIY store does sample pots, £1, £2 each. To finish the table we just need to add the top. And for the cream table, I'm going to stain the top using a walnut satin varnish. So to prepare for varnishing, use the 500 grit sandpaper and just really sand it smooth. And then just wipe off the dust. Now if I just show you that when that's fitted onto the top, if I just turn that over, you can see there's a border around each edge. So we need to varnish the top, and then we just need to varnish those outer edges of the underside. Now an easy way to do that is just to make a tab from masking tape that we can hold the piece with whilst we're varnishing it. So just cut, again I'm just using this 1-inch masking tape, and I just stick that on the back there, just leaving a tab like that, and then just stick an extra piece to either end to hold that in place like that. So then you can just varnish the piece without getting varnish on your fingers, like I've done here. Just varnish the outer edges of that underside, and I've just varnished the top. When that's completely dry, I'll just sand that off. So for the blue table, I'm just going to leave the top natural. So again, just sand the piece. Like that, and get rid of the dust. And then just apply the glue directly to the top of the table. It's a bit clogged. And then use a cocktail stick just to spread that out. It's got a bit much on there, so just remove that excess glue. Okay, so then just put the top into place, and you can just feel with your fingers that there's an even border around each edge. And you can just sort of turn it over and check that there's an even amount of wood showing around each edge. And then just use the cocktail stick to remove the excess glue. Around the edges, and then you can either use masking tape to hold that into place, or you can use clamps. I'm just going to use clamps here, and then just clip them into place like that, so that they're just sitting under that top support. and that one can be left to dry. So now the top has dried on the blue table, I'm just going to finish it off by applying a coat of clear wax, and I'm actually using clear shoe polish. You could also use furniture wax. So just apply it with a piece of kitchen towel, hold on to the table and just apply to the top using small circular motions, and it just gives it a nice rich colour, and also brings out the grain in the wood. And you get along the sides of the tabletop as well. Try not to get it onto the paint because it will mark it. And it smells really nice too. And when you're happy that it's a nice even coat, that's it. Table finished. So I've attached the top to the cream work table. You can just leave it like that, or you could sand it to create wear and tear, especially along the edges and the corners of the table. Or again, you can use the clear wax, and that just adds a depth to the varnish. Just rub it on, circular motions. And there's the completed work table.